Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Holly, and today I'm just going to be talking a bit about starting F1, how to prepare for F1, and those kinds of things. I did ask a while ago on my Instagram for people to give me any questions they had. It's at that.girl.medic if you don't know. And then hopefully I can answer some of those too. I think it's difficult to know where to begin. I think if you know me, you know that there were points during foundation training that I actually didn't really enjoy, where I felt quite low, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a doctor anymore. And so I guess I want to start by acknowledging that, and also kind of normalizing that. I think often you can have worked really hard for a really long time to become a doctor, and then being a foundation doctor can at times feel quite anticlimactic. So I guess it's just a thing that if at any point you feel kind of alone, if you feel sad, if you feel this isn't what I actually wanted, know that you're not alone in feeling that way. And my personal experience of that is that it does get better. So yeah, that's just my initial kind of starting point. A lot of people ask me, what's the best way to prepare for foundation training? Like, what should I be doing in my summer holiday and in the weeks leading up to starting F1? I'm just being attacked by Lou again. All my videos recently are just her attacking me. She's actually normally quite good. She just doesn't like me talking on camera. And going back to the advice, nothing. Please do not do anything. Please do not start reading Geeky Medics. Don't start trying to do question banks. Like, it's not worth it. It's actually not worth it. This is the last time you can have a nice long holiday and relax. And at the start of F1 is so tiring. You've got so much to get used to. Please take that time to rest. Take that time with your family, with your friends, have a fun time, eat good food, have lions, maybe do a little bit of exercise, a little bit of yoga, you can do my videos, but please, just take that time to really look after yourself so you can start foundation training as relaxed as possible. So yeah, my first advice is don't do anything to prepare. There are a few things you can do to prepare, so just make sure you've done all the admin stuff that they ask you to do. You want to make sure you've done things like giving your bank details so you can actually get paid. All that kind of stuff, please do. But don't do anything above that. Don't think you need to learn clinical stuff anyway, because a lot of foundation... Lola, I'm trying to give some good advice right now. A lot of foundation training isn't actually about being really clever and knowing lots of stuff. It's actually just about learning how to do a whole load of admin things. So kind of reading loads of stuff isn't actually that helpful. So that'll be my first thing. I'd say the second thing you can do is, if you know anyone who happens to work in the department you're starting to, getting the inside scoop can be really helpful. So I would definitely recommend chatting to people, just kind of getting a bit of the lay of the land. Is there someone who actually is known to not be very nice? Just that when you start, it's not a you thing. Obviously keep an open mind, people can have prejudices, but it means that if someone is kind of off with you, you can be like, oh, I did hear about them, I know about them. It's not that I'm incompetent, it's not that I'm not good enough. So if you do know anyone, but if you don't, also don't sweat it. You'll have a shadowing period, you'll get to ask the people who are already there how they found it, so they'll give you the tips and tricks, and do ask them loads of questions. I'd say when you're in F1, the expectations are generally quite low, so you may at times feel like so many things are your responsibility, you have so much to do, you have so many sick patients, but actually you can always ask for help. Do always ask for help. And if you're not sure about anything, especially in the first half at least of the year, and when you rotate to a new specialty, if it's a specialty you've not worked in before, you're not really expected to know that much. Ask the questions, get senior help, don't be afraid of asking for help. Basically, it's fine to ask for help, and even if you're not in that specialty, so say I started on surgery, and sometimes I had really sick patients and I couldn't get through to the SHO or the reg in surgery because they were in theatre. Ask the med reg for help. Just be like, I am the surgical F1. I'm all alone. This patient's really sick. I've done XYZ. Please come help. And they basically always will. And I guess similarly in that ilk as well, don't be worried about putting out a crash call. You know, even if the person has not actually rested yet, if they're peri-arrest, if they're just looking really not well and you're just not happy with how things are going at all, and you're like, wow, this person's sick, you know, they look like they need to go to ICU, don't like hesitate, put out a crash call. People are always happy to come and help, and sometimes all you need is a whole load of extra hands and some more new fresh brains and ideas, you know. So it's better to have put the crash call out, have loads of people come, and then be able to step that down, than to continue to try and manage by yourself and for things to just get even worse. So never be scared about putting out a crash call. People are always happy to come and help. And equally on that note, I've also been the F1 arriving at the crash first, and that can be super overwhelming. So kind of basics are basics. You know, by the time you get there, maybe the nurses will have started doing CPR, maybe they haven't. So just make sure CPR is going, make sure people are putting the pads on the chest. If you're feeling up to it, you could start looking at airway. So maybe you're just going to do a head tilt, chin lift, get some oxygen, and then maybe you're going to start trying to do something like an eye gel, whatever it is that you feel comfortable with, whether you've done your ALS or not. But like basics are basics. Just make sure CPR is going, make sure the pads are on, and you're already off to a good start. So yes, all that sounds super overwhelming, but I promise you it's not. And it's also okay to be affected by things. You know, like I remember after my first crash, I was like, oh my God, that was horrific. And people can get quite desensitized. And I think people forget that actually some of these things can be like quite shocking to see. I mean, I felt that way after doing 8 months of not being in a crash team. And then for my last job of F2, coming back to being on the crash team, it was quite like a shock to the system again. So I think just vocalizing that and being like, oh, actually, I found that really tough. Could we have a debrief? Could we, you know, find a scheduled time to chat about this? Could I just go make myself a tea? And just saying that makes kind of like reminds people like, oh yeah, that's actually quite dramatic that we've just seen that. So don't be afraid to be like, I just need a minute, because that's a very normal thing to need. On the point of needing a minute, some people are like, oh, I don't know if I'll have time to like, you know, have lunch or like go to the toilet and film like, how do people do that? How do people fit that in that day? Please prioritize that. A question I often get is like, do you have time for lunch? And I'm someone who will always make time for lunch, because I'm just going to faint in the afternoon if I don't eat. You know, I have to eat lunch, so I will eat lunch, you know. And I think just being like, oh, I'm going for lunch now, and being the person to create that culture of being like, oh, have you gone for your lunch yet? Have you taken a break yet? Even if someone's fasting, they should still take a break. You know, like, take a break. You need it for your sanity. So making sure you're kind of encouraging everyone else to take your breaks and creating that culture so that you can then skip off for your lunch break as well. And be the person that like offers to fill up people's water bottles and like offers to make everyone a hot drink, because it's good for you, it's good for them. Take those breaks, take those opportunities, kind of fuel and nourish yourself, definitely. I think people can also be really worried about if they're going to make friends or not. And I think there's two ways of seeing that, because I've had people ask me like, oh, did you manage to make friends? And I did make friends. I have good friends I've made from foundation years I'm really happy that I've met. But also, like, you don't have to make friends. You know, I'm sure through the course of your life, you will make friends. You will meet like-minded people, wherever those people are. But if someone's just a colleague and you're just friendly at work, that's actually okay too. You know, either way, it's fine. If you just have friends already from uni, you have friends from school, you have friends that are family friends, that's enough. You know, you don't have to make friends. Just kind of being friendly at work is fine. And you're not kind of a failure if you don't manage to make friends with everybody in your rotations. That's completely fine. You know, that's completely normal. Sometimes people ask me as well about what they can do to prep their portfolio. And it depends what people mean by this, because I had a few questions about this. So I think in terms of like the portfolio that you need to pass foundation years, it's actually quite explanatory. It's all on Horus. Get to know all of those descriptors, write your reflections, make sure you've got enough CBDs, mini kexes, DOPs, get them all in. I would say personally, I made sure I had at least 5 or more, and preferably over 7 pieces of evidence for each bit, for each individual mini section, because I just felt better that way. And I put everything in, like anything I did was going in there. My yoga teacher training course went in, my Catholic marriage preparation course, that went in, because you can reflect on anything. You can link it to the HLOs. It's all about how you use what you're already doing. So that's kind of, it's actually relatively straightforward. Just make sure you get enough evidence. If you're going to do e-learning, you also have to do reflections separately and link them. I'm saying loads of things and it will all make sense when you actually look at Horus and you get there. And I can always do videos separately on Horus if that is helpful for people. Please just let me know. But yes, so those are my kind of general tips and tricks on portfolio for foundation years. If you're thinking ahead of that, it depends what specialty you're going into, and obviously they do just change things at the drop of the hat, so all of this advice might become irrelevant quite quickly. If you're doing GP and Psych, at the moment it's just MSRA, so there's literally no point. Unless you're interested in doing something, you just want the study days, you want to go to a conference, do it for interest, but don't do it for your portfolio, because at the moment there is no portfolio. Outside of that, it's really competitive. So luckily I didn't have to do anything like that, and I just did things because I was interested. But get on it early. Do think about, so for example, if you've done a QI, just submit it for a conference. Maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. You know, can you do a PG cert? PG cert's relatively low work. I've done a master's in medical education and it was very doable. So if you're thinking you need to do PG cert, you can probably fit it in because it's not that many essays. It is a manageable amount of work. So getting the descriptors, downloading them from whatever specialty you want to get into early on, so you can see which bit you're kind of falling down on, and then trying to get in there early. Another one is normally leadership positions. So when things come up like being the F2 representative for the Resident Doctor Forum or whatever it is, put yourself forward, or president for the mess. That's a leadership role. That's something you can put in your portfolio. So just think early on about, actually that'll be good for me, I'll put that in. But obviously it's very kind of like dependent on the specialty, so I don't want to get too into the specifics. Also, because it's not something that I have to worry about until I do my ST applications for psychiatry, so that's a future Holly problem. I have also got a separate video on MSRA, because I've had a few people message me about MSRA and how best to revise for that. So I would direct you to that video for revising for the MSRA. I wouldn't worry about that when you start F1. You've got loads of time to revise for MSRA. Concentrate on just getting in, getting settled. You can worry about MSRA later. I do have a discount code for Revise MSRA. If you're interested, you can message me on Instagram. I can send you the link. But yeah, we'll kind of parcel MSRA to one side. Also, a lot of people worried about annual leave, and honestly, that is something I relate to because, I'm being attacked again. Before I started foundation years, I was really worried that I wouldn't get to go on proper holidays anymore, and that was going to be it, and I was going to never be able to go and see my grandmother for a proper period of time anymore. And actually, I can hopefully reassure you that that's just not been the case at all. And if you're clever with how you take your annual leave, you can definitely maximize it. So looking at 0 days after you've done on calls, nights and things, and combining that. If you work bank holidays, making sure you claim your time in the year. So if you work, for example, bank holidays, so I don't know, August bank holiday, or you work Christmas Day or something, then you get a day back in return. Lola, I'm trying to explain taking leave. So you get a day in return. So bank those, keep them up. You can't take it over the next rotation, so you have to use it within that rotation. Apart from if it's right at the very end. I think I worked Easter or something last year towards the very end of a rotation, so they let me carry it over. But you need clarification of that because lots of people won't let you do that. So yeah, using those. You can always try and swap into a bank holiday if you really wanted to, if you didn't care about the bank holidays. Sometimes people want to swap out of those. And using those together to be able to go on holidays. So from an annual leave perspective, hopefully I can reassure you that I've gone on lots of holidays and had a nice time, and I've never felt like I can't go on holidays anymore. In fact, the opposite, because actually I finally have the money as well to actually spend on holiday. I also have had a few people asking me if it's worth it to do things like pay for indemnity. Yes, definitely pay for indemnity. Lots of companies offer it free for F1s, or it's kind of very inexpensive, like £25 or something. So it's really worth doing. You can also then kind of claim it as like a tax thing. I'm not your girl for financial advice, but you can kind of claim it as like a tax-free thing, so it changes your tax code. Money Medics are really good for explaining that kind of thing, so I would take a look at them for that, but definitely please sign up for it. I would say also sign up for BMA, because it's always really good to be part of a union. In case anything happens, you can have a union representative. I know someone who ended up needing a union, and they were really, really helpful for them. So I would say pay for BMA, pay for an indemnity, and you don't have any choice about GMC, so GMC you do just have to pay for. So hopefully those things were all useful. If you do have any more questions, please do message me on Instagram, let me know, and I will try and get back to you. And best of luck for starting your foundation placements and years. I hope that you have a wonderful time.